want to start today's video about how to fletch your arrows with this. If everything in archery is about consistency, number one, how you tune your bow, how you set your bow up, how you micro tune your rest, how you micro tune your sight, all of this tuning. Why are people not putting the same effort into their arrows when they fletch? A lot of people go out, buy these mass-produced arrows that are already fletched by the factory and things. What we're going to discuss today, over the years I've noticed companies mass-produce fletchings. Let's face it, it's easier, it's better for them. I use 2-inch blazer vanes. On my 2-inch blazer vanes, what I have done is I weigh every single one of them. I've noticed anywhere from plus or minus 2 to 5 grains on some of these vanes. It's just extra material or less material due to the mold or whatever. So we're going to take you through some of the steps that I use when fletching an arrow. So stay tuned. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you also pound on that like button. When fletching your arrows, there are several different key components. Number one, the glue you use. Number two, the fletchings you use, the weight of those fletchings, and whether or not you do a right or left helical twist, depending on if you're right or left-handed, or straight vane it, and you know how far forward on the arrow past your nock do those fletchings need fletched. Those are all key components of fletching your arrow. So why do people not take those things into consideration? I want to talk about arrow building here real quick. If you guys look at my video on bowstrings, you'll see I did some different arrows on the testing for that, because I have a heavy hunting arrow that I hunt with, and I have a light arrow that I shoot archery competitions with during the spring and summer, and indoor shoots in the winter time. So right now I'm building my lighter arrows, which are the ones that I use for the 3D competitions, because I got one coming up, Broken Arrow Archery in Licking County, Ohio on June 6th and 7th. If anybody's available and interested in that, go ahead and check out Broken Arrow Archery's Facebook page, and you'll see all the specifications of that shoot. It's an ASA Northern qualifier here in Ohio. So let's continue with this arrow building. You know, a lot of people have questions. Do I wrap them? Do I not wrap? What size fletching to use? It's all personal preference. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. It's trial and error and what works best for you as the individual archer and your shooting style and your platform that you use. So I shoot a Matthews Verdicts, 65-pound mods on it, have about 68-pound draw. Everything's maxed out because to get peak performance out of your bow, the manufacturer recommends that everything be maxed out on it. When you start loosening limb bolts and stuff, you're not going to get the performance that the bow manufacturer has set up for that bow. So my arrows, I use 2-inch blazer vanes. I use G5 Design to Hunt G-Lock blue glue. It sets up really quick, doesn't take very long. And with my arrows, I'm very particular on the weight of the arrows, the weight of every fletching, the weight of the broadheads, because I want everything consistent across the board with my 3D arrows. So I like all of them to weigh exactly the same. If they don't weigh exactly the same, I don't use them. So that's some of the things that I like to do when I'm building my arrows. So here we go. I'm going to finish fletching this, enjoy it. You can see as I start to clean my arrows, I'll use a razor knife, and when I use the razor knife, I don't want it at a 90-degree angle. I want it to basically slide right down the arrow. That way I'm not taking excess carbon off of my arrow that doesn't need taken off. Now, one way to fix that and to prevent from taking carbon off, if you're not really experienced with using your razor knife and scraping old fletchings off, is you can use an arrow wrap. These arrows that I'm fletching today, these are going to be the arrows that I use at this year's Total Archery Challenge. The one in Pennsylvania at Seven Springs was supposed to actually be here this weekend, but unfortunately due to COVID-19 it got canceled, so it has been moved to August of this year. Same weekend, I believe, typically 27th of August, somewhere in there. or it might be the 23rd. Make sure you check their website because I'm not for certain of that. But these will be the arrows that I use for that total archery challenge. I'm going to be shooting the Sitka course, which is targets anywhere from 60 to 100 yards. You're probably thinking, man, that's a long way. For some of the inexperienced hunters, yes, absolutely 100%. That is a very long distance shots. Would I take any of those type of shots in a hunting situation? Absolutely not. No way. It's not ethical to the animal, in my opinion. It's outside of my comfort zone. That's why I'm shooting that course. I'm shooting that course because if I can start hitting 8s and 10s on that course on targets from 60 to 100 yards, that means the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20 yard shots are going to feel like chip shots come the end of September when Ohio deer season opens up. So that's one reason why I'm shooting that course. It's out of my comfort zone, and it's going to make me a better shooter because those are the distances that I'm going to be practicing. Here it's May 27th. I already started practicing since March at those distances because I thought it was going, the shoot was going to be in the end of May. But since it's backed up to August, now I'm going to be shooting that from March all the way up to August, 60 to 100 yards, which is going to theoretically improve my 50, my 40, my 30, and 20 yard shots tremendously. So something to think about there. Stay with me. I'm still building arrows here. One thing I like to do right here is I like to center my nock. You can see my nock right here. This will be for my my cock vane. So I like to turn my arrows to where the maxima faces off to the side. That means this is the center of the arrow on top, which is obviously my cock vane. So, and this is a 3-degree right hand helical twist. So I place my fletching in here like so. With glue, it's important not to get a lot on there. It doesn't take much. So I like to just run a bead right down the center. And once I do that, I'll take my middle finger or my index finger and I'll run it and kind of smooth that glue out on there. I'll wipe off the excess on a little towel that I got there. And I will set this. Make sure the arrow stays where it needs to be. And that's pretty much it. That's how I'll do every single one of them. Now I got my the vanes besides the cock vane. I got those all set and ready to go. So once this starts to set just a little bit, and it doesn't take very long, not with this G-Lock blue glue, it doesn't take very long at all. Always keep a spare paper towel around, fold it up nice and neat. And as it starts to set, you can see there's just a little bit of excess glue on there. So I'll take my paper towel and I want to get all that excess glue off. I don't want that on my fletching. I don't want it on the shaft of the arrow because more glue will add weight to your arrow. So make sure you wipe that excess off and take the time to do nice clean arrows. So I got that. Now I'll move on to the next one. Goes pretty quick. Again, this blue glue I found sets up really quick. So I really like that. It doesn't take very long for it to set. So put my fletching in here. Just run that thin little bead again. As I do that, I'll go ahead and just rub my finger across the top of it, wipe off the excess off of my finger, and set that vane in there, being sure to hold the arrow where I want it. Once I hold it for a few seconds, I'll go ahead and let it go. And I'll give it, maybe a minute or so, just to make sure that it's setting. But I don't want any excess glue that came out of there to start to harden, because it makes it a lot harder to wipe off. So like I said, you know, give it about 20 minutes or 20 seconds to about a minute. Go ahead and lift your jig off of there and just turn it a little bit. You can see just a little bit of extra glue. And what prevents all that extra glue, there'd be a lot more if when I put my bead on there, I didn't just wet the end of my finger and run it down the fletching there. And always keep a clean paper towel. Keep changing your paper towel, because as the glue gets on there, it'll start harden. It'll make it a lot harder to wipe it off. Or you could actually be adding glue if glue's not dried on the paper towel. You may start adding glue to it. Another thing is make sure your fletching jig is free and clear, because as glue starts to dry, you can see here, as it starts to dry, it'll build up on your fletching jig here. So I just take a razor knife, scrape it, it doesn't take much, and then just clean out where the fletching goes. It makes it a lot easier. So then we'll move on to the next one. Fletching colors, again, that's personal preference. You know, some people like to put dark fletching on there, so if they're shooting 3D competitions, the person they're shooting against can't see it. That's not my idea here. I'm using black and gray because that's what I have on hand, that I have enough to do these arrows. So therefore, that's what I'm using. And it has nothing to do with competitor not being able to see my arrow once I shoot. I want you to kind of pay close attention here to where the fletching are in relation to my face, and how the fletchings aren't touching anywhere on my jaw when I draw back here. So let me show you this. So as I come to full draw and I put my kisser button in my mouth and start to settle into the shot, notice how the fletching don't touch my jawline. That's important when fletching your arrows, because you don't want any portion of the fletching to touch your jaw because of facial pressure. Facial pressure equates to bigger misses at longer distances. If you're interested in today's video and you like it, please mash that like button. The YouTube algorithm really likes it when people mash that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because throughout the summer during the off season, we're going to be featuring a lot more videos like this to help those of you out there prepare for the upcoming 2020 deer season. We're really excited about this year's videos, so stick with us. Evolve Bow Hunting Outdoors.